Hey, it's Tom here and welcome back to the channel. So, Richer, Wiser, Happier by William Green. It is a book that has been circulated pretty widely in value investing circles throughout 2021. It's received pretty high praise, and in my books, that is for pretty good reason. This is easily the best investing book I've read in 2021, and in this video I want to give you some of my personal highlights. But before we get into that, we do have a sponsor for today's video, and today's sponsor is Hatch. Now, Hatch have been a long-time sponsor of the channel, and I have been a long-time happily paying customer of Hatch. They are the broker that I use personally to do all of my US investing from here in New Zealand, and they've really removed a lot of the barriers to entry for New Zealand investors looking to get exposure to some great US companies. When I first made my first investments in the US, I was stuck paying $90 per trade with one of the big banks here in New Zealand for trades that I can now do for as little as $3 in Hatch. And throughout the time that I've been a customer with Hatch, they have continued to improve the platform. And one of the big additions that they've made this year is to now add the option of setting up kids accounts in Hatch. So you can now set up accounts for your kids with much lower fees again than the traditional Hatch accounts. And you can take advantage of the power of compounding and of the long-term snowballing of wealth and earning interest on your interest on your interest, and all these great things that really drive really solid returns as long-term investors. So if you're interested in checking out Hatch, you will need to go to the link hatch.as/investingwithtom. If you head to that link, start a new Hatch account and deposit your first 100 New Zealand dollars into that account, Hatch will give you a free $20 top-up so that you can get started investing with a little bit more money. Now, throughout his career, William Green, the author of this book, Richer, Wiser, Happier, has had the opportunity to invest countless super successful investors. People like Joel Greenblatt, like Charlie Munger, like Mohnish Pabrai, like John Templeton, and countless others. And the book Richer, Wiser, Happier is really like a highlight reel, I would say, from William's career. When I read a lot of investing books, oftentimes there's maybe one or two or three kind of key ideas that the author's trying to get across, and around those ideas it's kind of a lot of filler content, I would say, that's not particularly valuable. That's really not the feeling that I got from Richer, Wiser, Happier. It really feels like William has picked the absolute highlights from throughout his career, compressed them down into a couple hundred pages or so, and given us some great insights from the interviews that he's had with these super successful investors. Now, because this book is so jam-packed, I really don't think I'm going to be able to give you every highlight from this book in the next 10 or 15 minutes, but I do want to give you some of my personal highlights. And I should say that if you actually have any burning questions for William Green, I'm very excited to say that I'm actually going to be having him on my podcast in the next week or so. So I put up a community post on YouTube just yesterday as I'm recording this video. So if you're interested in asking William a question, definitely pop that on the comments on that community post, and I'll pick a few of the best questions from that post and put them to William during that interview. Now, the first major lesson that I got from this book was actually not a new one to me because it was in chapter 1 and it was on Mohnish Pabrai, who many of you will know I am a big fan of Mohnish Pabrai, but we really got some new insight into Mohnish Pabrai's approach to some of the things that he talks about. So if you've watched Mohnish before, you'll know that he is obsessive about this concept of cloning, and it really shares a lot of the examples that Mohnish Pabrai goes through in terms of cloning, and not only his investment fund, but in sort of life in general. And Mohnish Pabrai often shares the story of basically two gas station owners that were directly kind of across the road from one another. You know, gas stations are basically a commodity business, so you're not going to be able to charge substantially higher prices just because people like you more or anything like that. And he tells a story where one of the gas station owners basically decided to give each of the customers a little bit of free service. So when someone would turn up to the gas station, maybe he'd clean their windows, or he would pump their gas for them, or whatever it might be. And over time, customers started to sort of prefer to go to this one particular gas station. And the guy on the other side of the road would see this happening, but for whatever reason, he would be unwilling to clone it. For some reason, humans tend to think that even if they see great ideas, copying those ideas from other people is kind of something that's beneath them, and that humans really frankly struggle to do. But Mohnish Pabrai is the exact opposite of that. He is someone that clones obsessively, and anytime he sees a good idea, he forces himself to make sure that he uses that where he can. And Pabrai Investment Funds is probably the best example of that cloning. So Pabrai Investment Funds is Mohnish Pabrai's obviously investment fund, investment partnership, and it's cloned from the Buffett partnerships of the 1950s and 60s, where Mohnish Pabrai basically operates as like a one-man band. He doesn't have a team of analysts or anything, and he's also copied the original Buffett partnership fee structure, where there's no management fees, it's performance fees only. He gets 25% over and above a 6% sort of high watermark. And it also does have that high watermark where you have to earn at least 6% a year as the manager of that fund until you can even think about capturing performance fees. So it's only sort of return over that 6% annually where Pabrai can start earning fees. And it tells the story of Pabrai having some really rough, like, down years, particularly through the financial crisis, where the 6% compounded was still trucking along and the high watermark was getting higher. And Mohnish had to work really hard not only to exceed that 6%, but to actually catch back up to it in the first place. And there was quite a long period of time where Mohnish Pabrai actually didn't receive any fees from some of his funds. One of my other highlights from Richer, Wiser, Happier is actually the chapter on John Templeton. Now, John Templeton is one of the greatest investors to have ever lived. He's no longer alive today, but he had a phenomenal track record. And when William Green went to interview John Templeton all those years ago, one of the things that really stood out to him is John Templeton's ability to basically be willing to be lonely. As long as John Templeton felt like he was being rational and he was doing the right thing as far as investing and even as far as doing exercise, where he maybe just looked like a bit of an idiot, kind of doing like weird exercises in the ocean every morning and stuff like that. He felt that if it was going to be good for him physically in terms of the exercise, or whether it was going to be good for his investment returns, even if no one agreed with him at all, he was willing to kind of stand up for what he believed in and what he thought was right after thinking through these problems. And it allowed him to buy baskets of stocks, one of the most negative times in markets throughout John Templeton's entire career. And because of that, he was able to stand alone, buy stocks when no one else wanted to own them, and earn spectacular returns as a result. Now, in talking to some other people that have also read Richer, Wiser, Happier, probably the most well-received chapter, or the one that kind of pops up the most often as people's favorite, would be Nick and Zach's Excellent Adventure. And that refers to Nick Sleep and his partner Zach, who ran the Nomad Investment Partnership over in the UK. There is an entire chapter dedicated to those two in this book. And it's really interesting because William Green writes about basically having people like Mohnish Pabrai and Qais suggest that he should go and interview Nick Sleep, but they sort of said, you know, you might as well try, it'll be great if you can get him, but he doesn't talk to anyone, it's unlikely he'll want to talk to you and do an interview, particularly to be a chapter of a book. And somehow William Green was able to pull it off, and we have a fantastic chapter, Nick and Zach's Excellent Adventure, in this book. And for the first time, really, outside of some of Nick Sleep's letters, we got a deep insight into how they think about the world and how they go about investing, and how they produced a phenomenal track record of over 20% per year before they wrapped up their fund. Now, if you've studied the Nomad Partnership before, you may know that they basically wrapped up their fund by holding basically only 3 stocks. They owned Costco, Amazon, and Berkshire Hathaway, and they were very concentrated in those 3 stocks. And that was sort of in the early to mid 2010s, and beyond the letters, we really haven't had a lot of updates around what Nick Sleep is up to. You can look up a 13F for his fund, but that only, again, shows those 3 stocks. And you can't see anything outside of the US. So if he had, investments in UK companies or anything, we wouldn't be able to see that in those 13F filings. But William Green is actually able to reveal that Nick Sleep made another investment. He actually ended up selling about half of his Amazon position that he owned personally at about 2018, and then ended up buying into an online fashion retailer in the UK called ASOS. And specific stocks aside, one of the key learnings that I got out of this chapter is basically trying to be as high quality in kind of everything you do as possible. So one of Nick Sleep's favorite books is this book called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And it's kind of an obscure book to relate back to investing, but somehow Nick Sleep has done it. And again, I've heard kind of mixed reviews on that book as well. It's interesting how some people can get a lot out of a particular book or podcast or whatever it is, and other people maybe don't get so much. I know Mohnish Pabrai actually tried to read that book after hearing Nick Sleep talk about it, and it just didn't really gel with him, but that kind of is what it is. And this whole business of doing a high quality job was very evident in the fund that Nick Sleep managed. You know, over time, they basically made their fees more and more favorable to the investors and less favorable to themselves. And they felt like they got to a point eventually where they had really nothing else to prove. They felt like they'd done a good job. You know, they'd reached some objectives that they wanted to achieve, and then they were sort of happy to continue on to the next thing in life and, you know, do what they want to do next. And finally, a couple of highlights from probably my personal favorite chapter, which was called Simplicity is the Ultimate Sophistication. And that was actually on Joel Greenblatt. Now, Joel Greenblatt is the creator of the Value Investors Club, probably has the best investment track record I've ever seen, admittedly over a shorter period of time. But he made 50% a year returns throughout his fund, which is just ludicrously high. And one of the real interesting things that kind of attracts me to Joel Greenblatt's investment philosophy is the fact that it is so simple. And, you know, Joel Greenblatt, when he teaches at Columbia and so on, he basically tells his students or makes a promise to his students on the first day or two of class. He says, I promise you that if you can do good valuation work on particular companies, then within a couple of years or within 3 years, if you're right on your analysis and your valuation, then the market will reward you for that work. And William Green actually put a tweet out the other day on this kind of exact philosophy from Joel Greenblatt, which I'll put on the screen here because I might be about to butcher it. But it was basically along the lines of, if you can do good valuation work and recognize that the entire job as an investor is to value something and try to buy it for substantially less than it's worth, things get really simple, and that's actually quite a freeing concept, I suppose, to learn as an investor as well. And that is directly from Joel Greenblatt. And finally, on the Joel Greenblatt topic specifically, one of the things that I perhaps didn't have as big a appreciation for initially as I did after reading the book is that Joel Greenblatt, yes, he produced exceptionally high returns and made himself and his investors very, very wealthy. But in order to do that, he was actually constantly giving money back to his investors in order to stay small. We know that Warren Buffett always talks about Berkshire Hathaway being so big now that the world of potential investment opportunities is really a lot smaller than it was in the past, and Joel Greenblatt is a clear example of someone who also recognizes that. He was constantly returning money in order to stay small and be able to be more nimble and also have the opportunity to invest in quite small companies. And for me, that is definitely a lesson. I'm largely sort of market cap agnostic when it comes to my investments. I will happily invest in a really small company or a mega cap, super large company. But I think that a more fertile hunting ground in general is probably the smaller stocks. And that is where I want to start maybe spending a little bit more time moving forward. So that is it for me for this one, and those are some of my personal highlights from Richer, Wiser, Happier by William Green. I definitely did not get through everything because there is a lot to kind of cover in doing a bit of a highlights reel on Richer, Wiser, Happier, because Richer, Wiser, Happier is kind of a highlight reel in and of itself. So like I say, if you do want to put any questions to William Green when I get the chance to talk to him next week, definitely put those on the community post on YouTube here under the Investing with Tom YouTube channel. And if you're interested in the Hatch offer, you will need to go to the link hatch.as/investingwithtom, deposit your 100 New Zealand dollars in your account, and you'll get a free $20 top up. So if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. But like I say, that's it for me for this one, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.